I refused to go on the family trip. My sister always abandons her twins on me. I quietly slipped away at the airport during tea. By the next morning, hundreds of furious texts. You ruined our vacation. I still hear the words, you ruined our vacation, echoing in my mind. But what if the villain in a family story is actually the one fighting for justice, for health, for a mother's well-being against the selfishness of everyone else? Because that's exactly what happened on our perfect family getaway to Maine, and trust me, it was anything but perfect. Growing up in our Connecticut home, Melissa, my older sister, was always the golden child. She just sparkled. Everyone loved her. Charming, outgoing, always the life of the party, swim queen, prom queen, you name it. My parents, Diane and Richard, completely gravitated towards her. And honestly, who could blame them? Melissa lit up every room she entered. I, on the other hand, was the responsible one. The steady 3.8 GPA, the help with dinner, the iron shirts for Dad, those were my achievements. They were acknowledged with quiet nods, not the fanfare Melissa received. It wasn't that my parents didn't love me, I know they did, but there was this unspoken expectation that I'd be the reliable one, the one who never caused trouble or needed attention. As adults, those roles just solidified. Melissa bounced through 3 college majors, then took a gap year in Europe, all funded by Mom and Dad without a single complaint. Meanwhile, I worked part-time through college, got my accounting degree, and landed a solid job in Hartford. My achievements were still met with those quiet nods. No big celebrations, just expectations. The past 2 years brought a whole new layer to this. Mom's health started to decline rapidly because of type 2 diabetes. Daily medication, constant blood sugar checks, emergency doctor visits. It was a lot. Dad tried to help, but the medical details overwhelmed him. So guess who took over? Me. Researching, organizing meds, driving her to appointments. Melissa? She'd call. Occasionally, her concern genuine but always fleeting. A quick, how's Mom? Before launching into her latest dating drama or work crisis. 3 months ago, Melissa had this brilliant idea during one of our rare family dinners. Mom was having a really rough time, and Melissa declared, "What we all need is a change of scenery." She pitched this lakeside cabin in Maine, the one the Andersons raved about. Mom could rest, Dad could fish, we could all just relax. Mom's eyes, usually so tired, lit up. "That sounds wonderful," she said, squeezing Melissa's hand. I hesitated, thinking of my busy work schedule, the logistical nightmare of Mom's health away from home, but seeing that hope in her eyes, I bit my tongue. "Great, it's settled," Melissa announced, already on her phone. But of course, settled meant I would do all the actual settling. Melissa sent links, but never booked. Dad talked about fishing, but never researched permits. Mom was excited but exhausted by the planning. So I stepped in. Lists, bookings, researching nearby medical facilities, designing menus around Mom's dietary restrictions, battling my firm for time off. It all fell to me. 2 days before we were supposed to leave, Melissa called in a panic. "Olivia, I totally forgot to request vacation days. Can you move the trip back a week?" My hand clenched around the phone. "Melissa, no. That's impossible. Everything is set. My time off, Mom's doctor appointments, everything." She whined. "But I really want to come. Can't you figure something out?" After a tense conversation, she finally agreed to take unpaid time off, making it sound like she was making some epic sacrifice. A part of me, the part that always felt guilty, actually believed it. The night before we left, I packed Mom's medications in a separate bag, labeled scheduled. I printed maps of the route, nearby hospitals, pharmacies, restaurants. I was utterly exhausted, but I clung to a fragile hope. Maybe this trip would bring us closer. Maybe Dad would finally see my contributions. Maybe Melissa would, for once, step up. I drifted asleep, dreaming of calm lake views, utterly unaware of a storm brewing. My alarm blared at 5:30 a.m. We were supposed to leave by 8 o'clock to beat traffic. I splashed cold water on my face, the planning worries still clinging. By 6:15, Mom's meds were double-checked, her travel schedule highlighted in bright red. By 7 o'clock, I was at my parents' house, ready to transfer everything to Dad's SUV. Mom was already up, dressed, and buzzing with excitement. Dad was nursing coffee, lost in a fishing magazine. "Morning, Olivia. Ready for vacation mode?" he asked, barely looking up. I just smiled, silently organizing the cooler with Mom's sugar-free snacks. 7:30 came and went. Then 8 o'clock. No Melissa. Dad checked his watch, the taps getting more frequent. At 8:15, he finally called her. I could hear her chirpy, unapologetic voice. "Just finishing packing. 30 minutes, tops." Dad sighed. All right, we'll wait. Drive safe. I bit back my retort. Melissa lived 15 minutes away. I used the extra time to recheck chargers for Mom's glucose monitor. Melissa finally breezed in at 9:10, designer shades on, an enormous tote bag, and a takeout coffee. Sorry, everyone. Couldn't decide what to wear, then needed coffee. Dad, ever the enabler, just took her bags and started loading them, having to completely rearrange everything I had meticulously packed. Mom, bless her heart, just smiled. By 9:30, we were finally on the road, an hour and a half late. Melissa immediately claimed the front seat. I get carsick in the back, leaving me sandwiched with Mom. I didn't mind. It meant I could keep an eye on her. We stopped for lunch, a charming retro diner. Grilled chicken salad, light on dressing, Mom, I suggested, knowing her dietary needs. Melissa rolled her eyes. God, Olivia, let Mom eat what she wants. We're on vacation. Mom, the peacemaker, quickly agreed to the salad. Later, Melissa sent her burger back for being medium well, not medium rare, delaying us another 15 minutes. Mom looked pale, tired. Did you take your new medication? I whispered. She nodded. Just tired, Liv. I'll be fine. We crossed into Maine in the mid-afternoon. The cabin was stunning, even better than the pictures. Perched over a vast, clear lake, wraparound deck, big windows. Oh my, Mom breathed, her fatigue momentarily forgotten. It's perfect. Even Melissa put her phone down. Wow. The Andersons weren't exaggerating. For a moment, we stood in a rare, peaceful family unity. Maybe, just maybe, this was it. I took charge, directing Dad and Melissa with bags while I organized supplies. My room was the smallest, overlooking the driveway, but I didn't care. I unpacked, then set up Mom's medication station on the kitchen counter. Dinner was grilled chicken, simple. As the sun set, casting molten gold on the lake, Mom squeezed Melissa's hand. This was a wonderful idea. Thank you for suggesting it. Melissa beamed, accepting credit for my weeks of planning. In that moment, I didn't mind. The vacation was off to a good start. The next morning, I was up with the sunrise, work schedule ingrained. Coffee brewed, pancakes on the griddle, Mom's favorite and diabetic-friendly. Mom joined me around 7:30, looking genuinely rested. Something smells wonderful, she said. Dad appeared, ready to fish, kissing Mom's cheek. Pancakes for everyone. I confirmed. I had planned a gentle, 2-hour hike for us all, starting by 9 o'clock. But as 8:30 approached, no Melissa. Mom set aside her plate. Dad checked his watch. Should I wake her? I asked. No, let her sleep, Dad said. She works hard. I bit back my sarcastic reply. By 9:15, Dad's patience was wearing thin. Maybe we should just go. Mom looked torn. She'll be disappointed. We compromised, getting ready, water bottles, sunscreen, trail map. By 10 o'clock, the morning coolness was giving way to heat. Just as we were about to leave, Melissa emerged, yawning in pajamas. Morning, everyone, as if we hadn't been waiting for 2 hours. We're leaving for the hike, I said, trying to keep my voice neutral. Oh, right, the hike, she blinked. Give me 15 minutes. 15 minutes stretched to 30 as she showered, changed, and styled her hair. By 10:45, it was hot. We'll need to shorten the route, I said. Too hot for the full loop, especially for Mom. Melissa frowned. But I wanted to see the lookout point. Tomorrow, I suggested. If we start on time. The abbreviated hike was still lovely, but Mom's pace slowed, her breathing labored. Let's take a break, I said, guiding her to a log. She sank down gratefully. Just need to catch my breath. I handed her water, discreetly checking her. Flushed, but not dangerously so. Fine, Olivia, she insisted. Just out of shape. Dad and Melissa doubled back. Everything okay? Dad asked. Just taking a rest, Mom quickly said. Back at the cabin, past noon, Mom went to lie down. Her blood sugar was slightly elevated, likely from the exertion. Dad went fishing. Melissa announced she was going to sunbathe. I used the time to prepare a light lunch and plan tomorrow's activities more realistically. Around 2 p.m., we gathered for lunch. Mom looked refreshed. Dad proudly showed off pictures of a small base. I thought we could try that seafood restaurant in town tonight, I suggested. Good reviews and options for Mom. Actually, Melissa interjected, I met some local guys while sunbathing. They recommended the lobster trap. Best seafood for miles. Did you check for diabetic options? I asked. She rolled her eyes. Not everything has to revolve around dietary restrictions, Olivia. I'm sure they have salads. Dad, predictably, sided with Melissa. The lobster trap it was. Mom gave me a small shrug. Not worth arguing about. After lunch, Melissa disappeared, re-emerging an hour later in a new outfit. By the way, she announced, I might not join you for the lighthouse tour tomorrow. The guys invited me out on their boat. But we planned this together, Mom said, a note of disappointment in her voice. I was looking forward to all of us seeing the lighthouse. I know, Mom, but how often do I get to go boating with cute local guys? You understand, right? That whiny tone, the one she perfected as a child to get her way. I guess so, Mom conceded. Just be careful. I couldn't hold it in. Melissa, we came here for a family vacation. We've been here one day, and you're already making separate plans. Don't be so controlling, Olivia, she snapped. Just because you have no social life doesn't mean I have to be glued to the family 24/7. That's enough, Dad intervened, but his tone was far milder than if I had spoken that way. Melissa can spend one day doing her own thing. We'll still have plenty of family time. The familiar sting. As we left for dinner, I saw Melissa rapidly texting, a small smile on her lips. She was already checked out. The lobster trap was exactly as I feared. Touristy, long waits, limited menu. Mom struggled to find anything suitable, settling for dry, overcooked fish. Melissa dominated dinner, rattling on about her Boston life, barely asking about anyone else. Dad encouraged her, laughing at her anecdotes. Mom picked at her food, looking tired. I sat quietly, watching the same old dynamics play out. Melissa, center stage. Dad, her facilitator. Mom, the peacekeeper. And me on the periphery. I'd hoped this trip would change things. It was only reinforcing them. Back at the cabin, Melissa announced she was going for a moonlight walk, phone in hand, clearly meeting her new friends. Dad turned on a baseball game. Mom settled with a book. I retreated to my small room, listening to the lake's sounds, wondering if I was the only one feeling the bitter undercurrent of tension. Day 3 dawned bright and clear. Perfect for the boat tour I'd reserved weeks ago. Mom was especially excited, minimal exertion, maximum beauty. I started breakfast, blueberry muffins, Mom's favorite. Around 8:30, Mom and Dad emerged, drawn by the sweet aroma. Mom looked well-rested, her color good. I discreetly watched her take her meds. These muffins are wonderful, Olivia, she said. You're spoiling us. Dad checked the lake. Perfect day for boating. What time do we need to leave? By 10:15, I replied. Marina's 20 minutes. Check in 15 before. Dad nodded. I'll make sure Melissa's up by 9:30. At 9:30, Dad knocked on Melissa's door. No answer. He opened it cautiously. She's not here. He came back, confused. Bed wasn't slept in. A flicker of concern crossed Mom's face. Do you think she's okay? Should we call her? I'm sure she's fine, Dad said, but immediately pulled out his phone, calling. Straight to voicemail. He left a message about the boat tour. By 10 o'clock, Melissa's continued absence created a nervous tension. Dad tried again. Voicemail. Maybe she stayed with those friends, he suggested, looking uncomfortable. Mom's worry was visible now. She should have let us know. I bit my tongue, holding back the thought that this was exactly like Melissa. I packed a cooler for the boat, water, snacks. As 10:15 approached, my heart sank. Dad, where are the car keys? We need to go. He patted his pockets, then checked the hook by the door. Empty. The keys were gone. And so was the car. Melissa had taken it. Without asking. Without a note. Without a thought for us. Dad's expression darkened. She knows we have the boat tour today. Why would she take the car without saying anything? Then, the real panic. Mom opened the fridge. Olivia, didn't you put my backup insulin here? I can't find it. A quick search confirmed it. The emergency insulin, crucial for blood sugar spikes, was gone. It had to be in the small cooler bag I'd packed for emergencies. The same bag now in the trunk of our missing car. My stomach dropped. I need to call Melissa again, Dad said, his voice tight with anger. This time, he left an urgent message. Melissa, call us immediately. Mom's insulin is in the car and we need it. Plus, we're going to miss our reservation. The next hour was pure hell. Repeated calls, all to voicemail. Mom insisted she was fine for now, her morning dose taken, but the missing emergency insulin was a huge risk. At 10:45, my decision was made. I called to cancel the boat tour. The marina was too far to walk. The cancellation fee was substantial, but we had no choice. I'm sorry, Mom, I said, seeing her. Disappointment. It's not your fault, dear, she replied. I'm more concerned about Melissa. Dad paced, alternating between calling Melissa and staring down the road. When she gets back, we're having a serious conversation, he muttered. My priority was Mom's medication. I found a small pharmacy 2 miles away. I'm going to town, I announced. We need backup insulin. Dad looked ready to object, to wait for Melissa, but Mom nodded firmly. Good idea, Olivia. Better safe than sorry. I found a water taxi service, expensive, but Mom's health was priceless. 20 minutes later, a small motorboat pulled up to our dock. Ray, the captain, was sympathetic. He took us to town, waited at the pharmacy while Mom's medical info expedited getting an emergency supply. It cost a fortune without our regular insurance, but I paid without a second thought. We got back to the cabin around 2:30 p.m. The car was still gone. No Melissa. Mom was visibly tired from the outing. I helped her to the couch while Dad resumed his anxious pacing. Finally, at almost 4 p.m., we heard tires on gravel. Melissa pulled up, looking relaxed, happy, wearing new sunglasses, carrying shopping bags. Dad met her at the door, his voice barely controlled. Where have you been? We've been calling for hours. Melissa looked genuinely surprised. My phone died. I forgot my charger. Did you need something? Did we need something? I interjected, my own patience gone. We had a boat tour today. You took the car with Mom's insulin in it. Her expression shifted from surprise to defensive irritation. How was I supposed to know her insulin was in the car? And I thought the boat thing was tomorrow. Even if it was tomorrow, you don't take our only vehicle without telling anyone. Dad fumed. We were worried. Mom joined us, moving slowly. Honey, my emergency medication was in the cooler. We didn't know where you were. For a brief moment, Melissa looked contrite. I'm sorry about the insulin, Mom. I didn't know. Then her expression brightened. But look what I found in town. She held up shopping bags. The cutest boutique. I got you a handmade scarf, Mom. Classic Melissa. Deflect, distract, charm. Usually it worked. Especially on Dad. But not this time. Melissa, I said, my voice firm. We had to hire a water taxi to get emergency medication. We lost our deposit on the boat tour. This isn't about forgetting, or your phone dying. It's about basic consideration, especially for Mom's health. You're overreacting as usual, she snapped. Mom's fine. Nothing happened. And I said I was sorry about the insulin. You should have asked before taking our only transportation, I insisted. Or left a note. Or made sure your phone was charged. Any of that would have been responsible. Dad stepped between us, the mediator. All right, that's enough. What's done is done. Melissa, please be more thoughtful. Olivia, let's move past this. He barely chastised her, but told me to drop it. The familiar pattern stung. Mom, ever the peacemaker, suggested a late lunch on the deck. The meal was strained. Melissa chattered about her shopping finds and the charming local men who'd given her recommendations. She barely acknowledged the worry she'd caused. By dessert, she completely shifted the narrative. She'd done us a favor by discovering these local gems. After lunch, I found Mom in her room, looking utterly drained. Are you feeling okay? I asked, instantly concerned. Just a bit run down, she assured me, but she was checking her blood sugar again. It was higher than ideal, stress. As I helped her with her pills, a wave of protective anger washed over me. This vacation was supposed to help her relax, not add stress that affected her health. That evening, I stayed close to Mom, monitoring her. Her blood sugar stabilized, but I was on high alert. From the kitchen, I could hear Melissa laughing loudly on the deck, talking to her new friends. It grated on my nerves. Dad joined me. Olivia, he began awkwardly. I know today didn't go as planned, but try not to be too hard on your sister. She's young, enjoying her vacation. She's 33, Dad. I replied quietly. That's not young when it comes to basic responsibility. Mom could have had a serious issue today. Dad sighed. I know. I've spoken to her. But you know how she is. The more we push, the more she pushes back. Let's just try to salvage the rest of the vacation, okay? I nodded, biting my tongue to keep from saying something I'd truly regret. But a line had been crossed today, and I had a terrible feeling worse was yet to come. The fourth day was overcast, humid, matching my mood. I was determined to make the most of it for Mom. I planned a picnic at a nearby cove, an easy walk, shaded tables, lovely views. By 9 a.m., I was making healthy sandwiches, fruit, bean salad, packing Mom's meds, water, first aid kit. Dad came out, kissed Mom, peered over my shoulder. Picnic lunch, I explained. Easy walk for Mom. Mom smiled. That sounds lovely. Dad volunteered to gather supplies. No sign of Melissa. I didn't count on her. But Mom still knocked on her door at 10:15. Melissa, honey, we're planning a picnic. To my surprise, the door opened. Melissa was dressed, groomed, checking her phone. A picnic? Sure, I could do that. What time? Around 11 o'clock. Perfect, she said, still texting. Gives me time to finish work emails. A flicker of hope. Maybe today would be different. At 11:05, Melissa emerged. Ready. Then, glancing at her phone. Oh, by the way, I hope it's okay. I invited a couple of people to join us. They're bringing local craft beer for Dad. My hope evaporated. You invited strangers to our family picnic? Without asking anyone. She rolled her eyes. They're not strangers. Jake and Troy, and Jake's sister Aubrey. Locals who know all the best spots. Dad, predictably, seemed unbothered. The more the merrier. Craft beer sounds great. Mom looked less certain, but nodded. Of course it's fine. I'll grab a few more plates. I bit my tongue, recalculating food, and feeling that familiar, sickening resentment. We set out. I lugged the heavy cooler. Dad carried the basket and chairs. Mom walked slowly, steadily. Melissa chatted beside her about her new friend's recommendations. The picnic spot was beautiful, clear water, fish visible. I set up the table. Melissa checked her phone. They should be here any minute. Coming by boat. Sure enough, a sleek motorboat pulled up to the dock. 3 people disembarked, waving enthusiastically. Jake, Troy, Aubrey. Jake was tall, sun-bleached. Troy was muscular, tattooed. Aubrey, Jake's sister, had fashionable blonde hair. So great to meet Melissa's family, Jake said, shaking Dad's hand. Troy held up a 6-pack of craft beer. Dad was delighted. Mom seemed to enjoy Aubrey's company. Melissa hovered, pleased. I rearranged food, trying to make it stretch. The picnic started pleasantly. The beer was good, according to Dad. Mom seemed to enjoy Aubrey, though I noticed she ate less than usual, perhaps self-conscious about her diet with strangers. Then about 20 minutes in, Jake, watching Mom decline foods, asked bluntly, Are you on some kind of special diet? Melissa mentioned health issues. Mom looked uncomfortable. Just managing diabetes. Jake, oblivious, continued. My uncle had diabetes. Lost a foot to it. Nasty disease. Mom's face paled. We manage it very carefully, I interjected. Mom's doing great with her treatment plan. But Jake wasn't finished. You should try this natural supplement my uncle took. Really helped with his blood sugar. My buddy sells it. That's very kind, Mom said diplomatically, but I stick with my doctor's recommendations. Jake shrugged. Suit yourself, but these pharma companies just want to keep you sick. A surge of protective anger. This stranger was giving dangerous medical advice to my mother. Before I could explode, Melissa jumped in. Jake owns a health food store. He knows a lot about alternative treatments. The conversation shifted as Troy produced a flask of homemade moonshine. Dad accepted a small pour, as did Melissa and Aubrey. Mom and I politely declined. The afternoon grew increasingly uncomfortable. Jake, Troy, and Aubrey became louder, more overbearing. Melissa matched their drinking, giggling, forgetting we were there. Tell them about that time you stole your dad's car in high school, Mel. Troy slurred, using a nickname I'd never heard. Melissa launched into a story I'd never heard about taking Dad's car at 16, going to a party, and getting it back before he woke up. She made it sound like a hilarious adventure, not a dangerous, illegal act. Dad looked uncomfortable. I don't remember that, he said. Oh, you never knew. Melissa laughed. Mom caught me, but she never told you. Mom frowned. Melissa, that's not. Remember how you made me promise never to do it again, and we kept it our little secret? Melissa cut Mom off. You were always covering for me. I watched Mom's face, hurt and confusion warring. This was clearly fabricated, Mom's history being rewritten to impress these drunken strangers. The final straw, Troy and Jake, tossing a frisbee, grew reckless. A wild throw slammed onto our table, knocking over drinks, sending food to the ground. Sorry about that, Troy called, not sounding sorry at all. Neither moved to help. As I scrambled, I saw Mom looking pale and tired. I discreetly checked her blood sugar low. She needed to eat something substantial now. Mom, are you feeling okay? She nodded, a bit tired, and I should probably eat something more substantial. I stood up. I think we should head back to the cabin. Mom needs to rest. Melissa frowned. We just got here. It's barely been 2 hours. Your mom's not looking great, Aubrey observed, more perceptive than her friends. Maybe you should take her back. Jake waved dismissively. She's fine. Just give her one of those granola bars. The casual dismissal of Mom's health by the stranger snapped something inside me. We're going back now, I said, my voice firm. Mom needs proper food and rest. Melissa looked embarrassed. Olivia, stop being so dramatic. Mom, are you really not feeling well, or is Olivia overreacting? Mom, ever the conflict avoider, hesitated. I am a bit tired, she admitted. But you can stay if you want, Melissa. Dad can help me back. Actually, I said, gesturing to the mess, I think we should all go. The picnic is pretty much ruined anyway. Melissa glared, but Troy interrupted before she could retort. Hey, no worries. Why don't we all head back to your cabin? We can bring the boat around. Got plenty more beer on board. Alarm bells screamed. The last thing Mom needed was 3 intoxicated strangers invading our cabin. That's not necessary, I said firmly. We have plans for the evening. No, we don't. Melissa contradicted. That's a great idea, Troy. You guys can come see our awesome cabin and hang out on the deck. Dad looked torn, glancing between Mom's tired face and Melissa's excited one. To my surprise, he sided with me. I think today isn't the best day for more company. Your mother needs to rest. Melissa's face flushed with anger and embarrassment. Fine, but I'm staying with my friends. I'll catch a ride with them. Melissa, you are not going to a stranger's house after drinking all day. I said firmly. I'm 33 years old. You don't get to tell me what to do, she shouted. Dad finally took a stand. Melissa, you're staying here tonight. Your friends need to leave. What followed was an ugly scene. Melissa argued, pleaded. Her friends gathered their things, annoyance etched on their faces. Jake muttered something about uptight family. Troy tried to convince Melissa to leave, but Dad physically stepped between them, his teacher's authority finally appearing. After they departed, Melissa stormed to her room and slammed the door. Dad slumped into a deck chair, looking utterly exhausted. I went inside to find Mom at the kitchen table, tears in her eyes. I'm sorry about all that, I said, taking her hand. This isn't how I imagined our family vacation, she whispered. As I comforted her, the weight of the past 4 days settled heavily on me. The pattern was clear. Melissa would prioritize her desires, Dad would enable her, and Mom and I would accommodate. But for the first time, I questioned if I wanted to participate anymore. The next morning, day 5, dawned gray and drizzly, matching the cabin's mood. Mom and Dad sat quietly at the kitchen table. Melissa's door remained closed. Morning, I said, joining them. How are you feeling, Mom? Better after a full night's rest, she said, her smile not quite reaching her eyes. Dad cleared his throat. I was thinking we could drive to that lighthouse today. Rain should clear by noon. Sounds nice, I agreed, appreciating his effort. The tentative peace shattered when Melissa emerged at 10 a.m., hungover but defiant. Morning. What's the plan? Dad explained the lighthouse. Actually, Melissa said, I made other plans. Jake and Troy are picking me up at noon. They're taking me to this hidden beach. The same people we'd just kicked out last night. I exchanged a glance with Dad. He looked troubled but hesitant. Melissa, Mom began gently, we'd really like to do something as a family. We've barely spent any time together. We've been together plenty, Melissa countered. I'm allowed to have fun, too. Of course you are, Dad said placatingly. But after yesterday what? Melissa interrupted. After Olivia was rude to my friends and embarrassed me? After you kicked them out like they were criminals? Dad's placating wasn't working. After they disrespected Mom's health, drank excessively, and left us to clean up their mess, I said directly. Those people aren't friends, Melissa. You met them 3 days ago. She rolled her eyes. Here we go again with Saint Olivia, the guardian of all things proper. Some of us actually know how to have fun. This isn't about fun, I replied, struggling to keep my voice level. It's about respect for the family and consideration for Mom's needs. We came here for a family vacation, and you spent most of it avoiding us or bringing strangers into our space. Oh, please, she scoffed. Mom is fine. You're just being controlling as usual. Dad intervened again. Let's all calm down. Melissa, we would really appreciate it if you joined us for the lighthouse today. She hesitated. For a moment, I thought she might agree. Then her phone chimed. She checked it, her expression hardening. They're already on their way. I can't cancel now. Yes, you can, I insisted. You can text them back and say you're spending the day with your family. I don't want to, she shot back. I want to go to this beach with people who are actually fun to be around. Mom's soft voice cut through the tension. Melissa, honey, I've been looking forward to the lighthouse. I thought we could take some family photos there. The hurt in her voice was unmistakable. Melissa looked conflicted, then squared her shoulders. I'm sorry, Mom, but I already committed to this. They're bringing a picnic and everything. I'll do the lighthouse thing another day. There won't be another day, I pointed out. We're leaving in 2 days, and tomorrow is supposed to be stormy. Well, that's not my fault, is it? Melissa retorted. Maybe you should have planned better. That was it. The sheer unfairness of that statement, after I had planned everything, was the final straw. Years of built-up resentment, of feeling invisible, finally broke through. I did plan, I said, my voice rising. I planned this entire vacation while you did nothing. I researched activities for Mom's health, packed her medications, monitored her condition. I made reservations and scheduled tours. I even packed special foods for her. Melissa looked stunned, then quickly recovered. Nobody asked you to do all that. You just like controlling everything. No, I countered, the words spilling out now. I do it because someone has to be responsible. And it's never going to be you, is it? Not when you were 16, and Dad had to pick you up drunk from parties. Not when you were 22 and Mom, and Dad had to pay off your credit card debt. And not now at 33, when you can't even be bothered to show up on time for family activities. Olivia, Dad warned, but I was beyond stopping. Do you have any idea what Mom's been through this year with her health? Do you know how scared she was when she was hospitalized in March? Of course you don't, because you sent flowers instead of visiting, then called for 5 minutes before you had to rush to a party. Melissa's face flushed. That's not fair. I live in Boston. I can't just drop everything every time Mom has a health issue. I live an hour further away than you do. I pointed out, but I managed to be there. I always manage to be there, because that's what family does. So I'm not family now. Melissa's voice took on a dangerous edge. You're family when it's convenient for you, I replied. When you need money, or a place to stay, or someone to listen to your latest drama. But when the family needs you, when Mom needs you, you're nowhere to be found. Melissa turned to her parents, tears welling, her go-to tactic. Are you going to let her talk to me like this? Dad looked deeply uncomfortable. Olivia, that's enough. Your sister, no, it's not enough. I interrupted, something I rarely did with my father. For years, we've all tiptoed around Melissa's feelings while ignoring everyone else's. We make excuses for her selfishness. We clean up her messes. We rearrange our lives to accommodate her whims. And what has it gotten us? A family vacation where Mom's health is jeopardized, Dad's stressed, and I'm treated like a servant expected to cook and clean for Melissa's random friends. Mom's quiet voice broke through my tirade. Olivia, please. I'm sorry, Mom, I continued, gentler now, but it needs to be said. I love all of you, but this dynamic isn't healthy for anyone. Melissa needs to hear that her actions affect others, especially you. Melissa's tears had turned to rage. You think you're so perfect, don't you? The responsible daughter, the good one. Well, guess what? Everyone is sick of your controlling, judgmental attitude. You don't get to dictate how I live my life or spend my vacation. No, I don't, I agreed. But when your choices directly impact Mom's health and well-being, that's where I draw the line. Mom is fine, Melissa shouted. Stop using her health as an excuse to control everything. At that, Mom herself stood up. I am not fine, she said with unusual firmness. I haven't been fine for months. My blood sugar has been all over the place. I'm constantly tired, and I worry about every bit of food I put in my mouth. This vacation was supposed to be a chance for me to relax and enjoy my family, but instead, I've been stressed and anxious since we arrived. Melissa stared at Mom, momentarily speechless. Dad placed a hand on Mom's shoulder, but she gently shrugged it off. Diane, he began, using her full name. No, Richard, Mom said. I need to say this. I love both my daughters equally, but Olivia's right about one thing. This vacation has become all about managing Melissa's needs and moods rather than enjoying our time together. Melissa's face crumpled. So you're taking her side? After everything I've done to make this vacation fun, what exactly have you done? I asked, incredulous. Name one thing you've contributed besides stress and drama. I found this place. Melissa shot back. This was my idea. Finding a cabin online and then doing absolutely nothing to make it happen doesn't count as a contribution, I retorted. Dad paid for it. I booked it, researched activities, packed supplies. You ruined it, Melissa shouted. You've turned what should have been a fun family vacation into a military operation with your schedules and rules and judgment. You've made everyone miserable with your controlling behavior. Dad finally found his voice. Melissa, that's enough. Olivia has worked very hard to make this vacation pleasant for everyone, especially your mother. Melissa turned on him, shocked. So you're against me too now? Perfect. Olivia has you all brainwashed. No one is against you, Mom said tiredly. We just want you to consider how your actions affect others. My actions. Melissa's voice rose to a near scream. What about her? She jabbed a finger at me. She's the one who embarrassed me in front of my friends. She's the one who treats me like I'm incompetent. She's the one who's ruined this entire vacation with her stick-up-her-ass attitude. The cabin fell silent. Dad looked stunned. Mom had tears streaming down her face. And I felt a strange sense of calm clarity. In that moment, I realized nothing would change. This pattern was too deeply entrenched, too comfortable for everyone. Melissa would continue to be selfish. Dad would continue to enable her. Mom would continue to make peace. And I would continue to pick up the pieces, unless I chose a different path. I'm leaving, I said quietly. What? Mom looked alarmed. Not right now, I clarified. But tomorrow morning, I'm going to drive back home. I'll come back to pick you all up at the end of the rental period if you want, or Dad can drive you back. But I can't do this anymore. You're abandoning the family vacation because you didn't get your way? Melissa asked, incredulous. Talk about childish. I'm removing myself from a situation that's become toxic and unproductive. I corrected her. I came here hoping for quality time with my family, especially Mom. Instead, I've spent the entire time managing crises, being criticized, and watching Mom get increasingly stressed rather than rested. That's not a vacation. It's an extension of the caretaking role I already fulfill at home. Olivia, please, Dad started, but I held up a hand. I've made my decision, Dad. I'll help with dinner tonight and breakfast tomorrow. Then I'm going to drive back. I have work to catch up on anyway. You can't leave, Mom said, her voice breaking. We need you here. Those words, which would normally have swayed me instantly, now strengthened my resolve. That's exactly the problem, Mom. Everyone here has grown so accustomed to needing me that my own needs have become invisible. I need rest, too. I need appreciation. I need to be seen as more than just the reliable one who will always sacrifice herself for everyone else. Melissa wasn't finished. This is so typical, she spat. You set yourself up as the martyr, then blame everyone else when you're unhappy with the role you chose. I didn't choose this role, I replied calmly. It was assigned to me while you were assigned the role of the special one who gets endless passes for bad behavior. But I'm choosing now to step away from it, at least for a few days. Fine. Leave, Melissa shouted. You've ruined our vacation anyway with your constant criticism and judgment. Dad finally lost his patience. Melissa, that's enough. Olivia has done nothing but try to make this vacation work for everyone, especially your mother. If anyone has ruined things, it's... He cut himself off, but the implication was clear. Melissa gasped, genuinely shocked to hear her father blame her. I can't believe this, she said, her voice suddenly small. My entire family is turned against me. No one is turned against you, I said wearily. We just want you to grow up and think about someone besides yourself for once. The sound of a boat motor approaching the dock broke the tense silence. Melissa's phone chimed. That's Jake and Troy, she said, her voice cold. I'm going with them. Don't wait up. Melissa, please. Mom called as she headed for the door. Stay and talk this through. There's nothing to talk about, Melissa replied without turning around. Olivia has made her feelings clear, and apparently you all agree with her. I know when I'm not wanted. With that dramatic exit, she stormed out. I watched her hurry to the dock where the motorboat waited. Jake waved enthusiastically, unaware of the family drama he was intersecting. After Melissa departed, the cabin fell into a heavy silence. Mom sank back into her chair, utterly drained. Dad paced the living room, running his hands through his hair. I'll make some fresh coffee, I said, needing to do something practical. As I measured grounds, Dad came to the kitchen doorway. Did you mean what you said about leaving tomorrow? I nodded, my voice thick with emotion. I'm sorry, Olivia, he said, the words halting. I didn't realize how much pressure you've been under. It's not just this vacation, I replied, staring at the coffee maker. It's been our family dynamic for as long as I can remember. I just reached my breaking point. Mom joined us, her eyes red-rimmed but dry. I should have seen it, she said softly. I've leaned on you so much, especially since my diagnosis. It wasn't fair. I don't mind helping, Mom, I assured her. I love you. What I mind is that it's always assumed I'll handle everything while Melissa gets a free pass. Mom reached for my hand. I never meant to make you feel taken for granted. I know you didn't, I said, squeezing her hand. But that's what happened, and I need some space to figure out what comes next. The lighthouse trip was quietly abandoned. The three of us spent the afternoon in a strange, subdued state. I made a simple dinner. Melissa's absence was conspicuous. As I cleaned up, Dad approached hesitantly. Are you sure about leaving tomorrow? I nodded. I need to. For me. What should I tell Melissa? The question irritated me, still worrying about her feelings. Tell her the truth. That I needed some space after our argument. Dad nodded, looking older than I'd ever seen him. I've made a lot of mistakes with you girls, he admitted. I thought I was being a good father by keeping the peace, but I was really just enabling bad patterns. The acknowledgement, however late, meant something. It's not too late to change those patterns, Dad. That night, I packed, feeling a strange mixture of sadness and relief. Leaving was painful, but necessary, a declaration of my own worth. I lay awake for hours, wondering if I was doing the right thing. Around midnight, I heard a distant boat motor. Melissa returning. No voices, just the quiet click of her door. Morning came with pale sunlight. I dressed, carried my bags to the car, and joined my parents for a final breakfast. Melissa's door remained closed. I made your favorite blueberry pancakes, Mom said, her smile brave, her eyes sad. Thank you, I said, genuinely touched. We ate in stilted small talk. As I cleared dishes, Melissa's door finally opened. She appeared in the kitchen doorway, subdued. You're really leaving? She asked, her voice lacking its usual edge. Yes, I replied simply. I think it's for the best. She nodded, not meeting my eyes. Safe drive. It wasn't an apology, but it wasn't an attack. It was almost conciliatory. The goodbyes were emotional but restrained. Mom hugged me tightly. Call me when you arrive safely. Dad's embrace was awkward but heartfelt. Melissa hung back, offering only a stiff nod. As I drove away, watching the cabin recede, I felt both loss and liberation. For the first time, I had chosen my own needs over family expectations. The road ahead was uncertain, but it was mine. The small inn I found 30 miles from the cabin was nothing special, but it offered what I desperately needed, space to think. After checking in, I sat on the bed and let the emotions wash over me. Tears, hot and fast, a release of tension and grief for the vacation that never was, for the sisterly relationship I'd never truly had, for years of feeling invisible. When the waves subsided, I showered, ordered pizza, and watched mindless TV. The simplicity was healing. No schedule, no needs to anticipate, no tension to navigate. I called Mom. The conversation was brief, gentle, avoiding Melissa or the argument. Get some rest, Mom said before hanging up. You deserve it. The next day, I slept late, waking naturally without an alarm. After a leisurely breakfast, I caught up on work emails. In the afternoon, I hiked alone in a nearby state park, setting my own pace. The solitude was refreshing. Standing on an overlook, watching a hawk circle, I realized how rarely I experienced this kind of unstructured freedom. That evening, Mom called. My heart leaped with reflexive worry. Is everything okay? Yes and no, she said, her voice strained. I had a bit of a blood sugar issue this afternoon. Nothing too serious, but I was pretty shaky. Concern flooded me. What happened? Did you take your medication? Where was Dad? Is there a doctor? Olivia, breathe, Mom said gently. I'm fine now. My blood sugar dropped suddenly, probably from the stress of everything. Your father helped me get some juice and crackers, and I stabilized. I wanted to hear your voice. The admission touched me deeply. I'm glad you called. How are things otherwise? Mom sighed. Quiet. Your father took the boat out fishing. Melissa? Well, Melissa has been gone most of the day with those friends of hers. My jaw tightened. Even after what happened? After your health scare? She doesn't know about it, Mom admitted. She left before it happened, and we haven't seen her since. The old anger flared, but I tamped it down. Mom, maybe you should come join me at this inn. It's not fancy, but it's comfortable, and I could take care of you properly. There was a pause. That's very sweet, but I think I need to stay and see this through with your sister. Running away won't solve the underlying issues. Her words, though not intended as such, felt like a gentle rebuke of my own decision to leave. I didn't run away, I said, more defensively than I intended. I removed myself from a toxic situation. Of course you did, honey, Mom said quickly. And you were right to do it. I didn't mean to imply otherwise. We talked longer, Mom telling me about Dad's fishing, the loons near the dock. By the time we hung up, I felt both better for having talked to her and unsettled by her health episode. The next morning, I woke early and found myself packing my bags without consciously deciding to return. Something in Mom's voice had triggered my protective instincts. I couldn't ignore the possibility that she needed me. I checked out of the inn and pointed my car back toward the lake, telling myself I was just going to check on Mom and could always leave again. The drive felt shorter. As I pulled into the gravel driveway, only Dad's SUV was there. Melissa's rental car was gone. I parked, took a moment to gather myself. Dad answered my knock, surprise evident. Olivia, we weren't expecting you back. I was worried about Mom after her blood sugar incident, I explained. Is she okay? Dad stepped back to let me in. She's better today. The doctor said it was likely a combination of stress and missing a meal. Doctor! I stopped in the doorway. You took her to a doctor? Dad nodded. I insisted after she nearly fainted yesterday. There's a medical center in town, the same one you researched. They were very helpful. The fact that Dad had taken charge and gotten Mom medical attention was unexpected, but heartening. Where is she now? Resting in the bedroom. The doctor recommended taking it easy. He hesitated, then added, She'll be happy to see you. I carried my bag inside and went directly to the master bedroom. Mom was propped up reading. Her face brightened. Olivia! What a wonderful surprise. I sat on the edge of the bed. I was worried after your call yesterday. How are you feeling? Much better, she assured me. Your father has been very attentive, and the doctor was wonderful. She adjusted my medication, which seems to be helping. I glanced around. Where's Melissa? Mom's expression clouded. She didn't come home last night. She texted her father this morning to say she was staying with her friend Aubrey. It didn't surprise me, but it still stung. Has she asked about you at all? Mom shook her head. I don't think your father told her I wasn't feeling well. He didn't want to worry her, or give her the opportunity to demonstrate whether she would care enough to come back, I thought. Have you eaten lunch yet? I can make you something. Your father brought me soup a little while ago, Mom said, then added with a small smile. It was from a can, but he heated it perfectly. The image of Dad, who rarely cooked, carefully preparing soup for Mom brought an unexpected lump to my throat. Perhaps my departure had already forced some necessary changes. I spent the afternoon keeping Mom company. She seemed genuinely more relaxed. I had a good talk with your father after you left, she confided when Dad stepped out for ice. I told him some hard truths about how I felt, enabling Melissa all these years. It wasn't an easy conversation, but it was necessary. How did he take it? I asked, curious. Better than I expected, Mom admitted. I think seeing you stand up for yourself shocked him into reconsidering some things. He admitted he's been unfair to you and far too permissive with Melissa. The acknowledgement was validating, even secondhand. Do you think anything will actually change? Mom squeezed my hand. Change doesn't happen overnight, especially with patterns as old as these. But I believe we've taken the first steps. Early evening brought the sound of a car. Melissa's rental. She entered alone, stopping short when she saw me with Mom. You're back, she said, her tone unreadable. Mom had a health scare yesterday, I replied, not softening the information. Her blood sugar dropped dangerously low. Dad had to take her to a doctor. Melissa paled visibly. What? Why didn't anyone call me? Would you have answered? I asked. Or were you too busy with your new friends to care about your family? Olivia, Mom warned gently. Melissa's expression cycled through shock, guilt, and defensiveness. I would have come back if I'd known, she insisted. Is she okay? Are you okay, Mom? I'm fine now, Mom assured her. Just tired. The doctor adjusted my medication. Melissa approached hesitantly, perched on the arm of the couch. I'm sorry I wasn't here. The apology seemed genuine, catching me off guard. Mom patted Melissa's hand. You're here now. Dad returned with ice and groceries, pausing when he saw Melissa, then offering a neutral greeting. The four of us existed in an awkward truce for the remainder of the evening, everyone careful with their words. After dinner, which I prepared while Dad insisted on doing the dishes, Melissa approached me on the deck. I didn't know Mom was sick, she said without preamble. I would have come back. I believe you, I replied, surprising myself with the realization that I did. Melissa could be selfish, but she loved Mom in her own way. She leaned against the railing, looking at the lake. I've been thinking about what you said, about me never taking responsibility, always expecting everyone to accommodate me. I stayed silent, giving her space. I'm not good at being reliable, she admitted. Not like you. It's easier to be the fun one, the spontaneous one. No one expects anything from me except entertainment. That's not entirely true, I said. Mom and Dad expect you to be an adult who considers others, especially Mom's health. And I expect you to be a sister who sees me as a person with needs, not just a convenient resource to handle whatever you don't want to deal with. Melissa nodded slowly. I can see how I've been taking advantage. Not intentionally, but the result is the same. She turned to face me. I can't promise I'll suddenly become as responsible as you overnight, but I am sorry for how I've treated you, especially on this trip. It wasn't a perfect apology, but it was more self-awareness than Melissa had ever demonstrated. Thank you for saying that. So where do we go from here? She asked. One day at a time, I replied, starting with finishing this vacation with Az. Little drama as possible for Mom's sake. The final 2 days passed in cautious reconciliation. Melissa actually joined us for meals and activities, though she did slip away once to say goodbye to her local friends. More significantly, she made an effort to help Mom. Dad, too, showed subtle but meaningful changes. He consulted me about activities for Mom, rather than automatically deferring to Melissa. He stepped up with practical tasks without being asked. And most importantly, he started holding Melissa accountable, giving her a pointed look when she was late for breakfast on our final day. On the morning of our departure, Mom pulled me aside. "Thank you," she said simply. "For what?" "For having the courage to speak your truth, even when it was painful. Sometimes a family needs a disruption to see the patterns they're trapped in." I hugged her tightly. "I'm sorry I left you." "Don't be," she insisted. That act of self-respect did more to change things than years of silent accommodation ever could. The drive home was split. Dad and Mom in the SUV, Melissa and I in her rental. This arrangement, suggested by Dad, forced us to spend hours navigating conversation without the buffer of our parents. It was awkward at first, but gradually, we found our way to more honest communication. Melissa admitted feeling jealous of my closeness with Mom. I confessed to resenting her freedom and how she seemed exempt from responsibilities. "I've always admired how together you are," Melissa said at one point, surprising me. "You make adulting look effortless." I laughed. "Trust me, it's not. I'm constantly worried I'm doing it wrong." "You worry about doing something wrong," she mused. I thought that was my department. The shared laughter felt like the beginning of something new. Not a complete resolution, but a crack in the wall between us. Back home, the changes continued. 3 months after that eventful vacation, we gathered for family dinner. Mom's health had stabilized, and she looked better than she had in months. The most remarkable change was in our family dynamic. Dad consulted me about important decisions. Mom was more forthright about her needs. And Melissa, while still Melissa in many ways, made visible efforts to be more considerate, calling Mom regularly and even remembering Dad's birthday. As for me, I discovered that speaking up for myself didn't cause the family to fall apart. If anything, it strengthened us by replacing unhealthy patterns with more honest communication. I began setting clearer boundaries around my time and energy, and to my surprise, my family largely respected them. The vacation that I thought had been ruined turned out to be transformative. By standing up for myself, even when it meant being cast as the villain, I initiated necessary changes that benefited everyone. The pain and conflict were worth it for the healthier dynamic that emerged. I learned that sometimes the most loving thing you can do for your family is to love yourself enough to demand respect. That setting boundaries isn't selfish. It's essential for authentic relationships. And most importantly, that it's never too late to change family patterns that no longer serve anyone well. Our Maine vacation wasn't the idyllic experience I had planned, but it gave us something more valuable, a new understanding of each other, and the courage to create healthier ways of being family. In the end, that was worth more than any perfect vacation could have been. Have you ever had to stand up for yourself with family, even when it made you temporarily the bad guy? Share your experience in the comments below. I'd really love to hear your thoughts.